Hi, my name's Dennis Thomas. I am the president of Estimateguard. Estimateguard is a construction management business. We provide construction management services as well as construction management software. And I was hoping just to take a few minutes of your time and let you know about some of the services that we could provide for your company. The very first opportunity to control profitability of your projects comes with the contract. I am not an attorney, but I am willing to offer you some legal advice. And here it is. Subcontractors that don't perform on your project are always expensive to remove from that project. And legal battles are the only fight you're ever going to be in your lifetime where even the winner is the loser. So very important to make good decisions on what subcontractors you work with, what prime contractors you work with, what customers you work with, and to take a good hard look at the contract. The areas that I could probably best help you on would be, requirements of client oversight, safety requirements, material requirements, and the application of those materials as they relate to your contract. I have seen some very large customers actually bend to the will of contractors when they put forward a convincing argument for making changes in those areas right there. And so, you really need to throw a critical eye at that contract from a profitability standpoint. And I've been involved in a lot of those negotiations. I can certainly make recommendations for you, at least give you my opinion on that, on what you might want to change in order to make the project a little smoother running for you. Once the contract is signed, we can work with your engineering team to design a project that will give the client the product they expect while affording you the best opportunity to reach your profit goals. I've been in the electrical industry for over 40 years. I have a Master Electrical license, and I also have a very strong general construction background. I've value engineered just about every project I've ever built, going back as far as when I was a foreman on projects. And so this is an area where I can really offer some good guidance and support. On more than one occasion, this is an area where I was able to save my client enough money to cover my costs for the entire project. Just this depends on the size and scope of the project. I've worked on projects up to $85 million, and I've supervised up to 70 direct hire employees. So I have a pretty extensive background both in solar and electrical, and with a good supporting solid construction, general construction background. And value engineering is an area where I could really be a benefit and help you capture some cost savings. Of course, anything we can do in the value engineering stage to streamline your installation is also going to help, ideally will also help save on labor costs. So if we can create a little breathing room on the labor side, that's always a good thing, because the labor is always the struggle. And so I always try to throw a critical eye at minimizing the labor impact whenever I do value engineering. If you're going to ask your field crews to complete a project at or below your estimate budget, They need to know what your estimate goals are at the task level. Task integrated estimating is something that I started in the early 90s. As a matter of fact, the first time I compiled a task integrated estimate, I did it with a means book and a ledger sheet, and I was a young foreman at the time. But I did it as a way of determining time limits for certain sections of work on my project so that I could assign that to workers, let them know exactly what material they were going to need and how much time they had to complete that task in order to make money for the company. And then I would track their time against the task to see if they succeeded or not. And when you tell someone exactly what to work on, give them a material list for that task, and tell them how much time they have to install it, and then track their actual time against it, that is accountability, and people perform. It's just like magic. All of a sudden, things start getting done on time in relation to the budget. And so it's something I've done for a lot of years. I do very detailed takeoffs. When someone offers me a project, I'll take a look at their estimate data. If there's a way to break it up the way I need to, I'll go ahead and use it. Otherwise, I'll do my own takeoff of the project. And the size of the project determines how detailed that takeoff is going to be. If I'm just delegating tasks to individual employees, they're going to be pretty detailed. But once you get, up in size, if you've got 100 workers on your project that you need to organize, then what I'm going to start doing is chunking those tasks down to a crew level, and I'm going to start assigning them directly to crews instead of to individual employees. So it just makes things less tedious and easier to manage, and still gives you the same accountability and flow on your project. But by doing that, you also get a very detailed material list. And what I tell my people is, before you start a new task, you need to take your material list and you need to walk through the next task in line that you'll be doing. So, you can get a pretty detailed material list by going through the drawings and doing a takeoff, but you can't see site-specific conditions. And sometimes, often, you run into challenges on site where you might need some fittings or different type of material to get around obstacles. And if I need to add those materials for that task, I want to know what material they need in time to get it ordered and get it to site before they start that task. So what I tell them is, if you're starting a fresh task, you had better have walked through the next task in line with your material list and put in your request for any site-specific material that you think you might need. And it really cuts down on the emergency runs to the wholesale house. It cuts down on my cost for paying premium for material if I have time to shop for it a little bit. And it also directly affects the schedule. When guys start tasks and they don't have the material they need and they have to stop, that means they have to piggy hop to the next task. And then when they're done with that, they have to come back to the prior task when the material shows up. And it just starts to destroy your schedule when a bunch of crews start piggy hopping around on your site. So one way to keep things focused and moving smoothly is to have the right material on site at the right time, so they can go from task 1 to task 2 to task 3 to task 4 without interruption. That's not to say that there isn't going to be some piggy hopping, But if you can minimize that as much as possible, it just makes for a much smoother management of your schedule. And if you have 10 crews piggy hopping everywhere, I guarantee you, you're in schedule hell. You're already there. So very important to be able to give them a material breakdown on all of the tasks that they're going to be working on. Print it out. Here you go. This is what we see you using on that task. Now you go take a look at it and you tell us if we're wrong. Another thing I will do is before I ever get to that level, I'll generally get together with my foreman or perhaps superintendent, even the material purchaser, and go through the project task by task, vetting the material. A lot of times I've found that, electricians are very particular about what material they like to use. So if I can give them the opportunity to flavor that material to their personality before it ever gets to the job site, I'm way ahead of the game, because they're going to kick my material off to the side and then run to the wholesale house and go get or put in an order for the material that they want to use in place of the material that I specified. So by walking through the entire project with them task by task, the people who are going to be involved, letting them flavor that material, I'm way ahead of the game, and that also helps cut down on any last minute material requests. So task integrated estimating, I think it's a very powerful tool, something I've been doing for a long time, and it just compiles your material and labor in a way that it's easy to take a look at and evaluate. We use Electrical Bid Manager by Vision Infosoft to compile our electrical estimates, because we like the ease of formatting a task integrated estimate with it. But we can work with any other platform as well, including AccuBid and custom spreadsheet systems. It really doesn't matter to me what estimating system you use, whether it's a commercial estimating system or a spreadsheet system. I can generally work with any of that data. A lot of times I can take that information and get it formatted the way I want to. It's very important to me how it's formatted, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But if I can't make heads or tails of your estimate data, then I'm going to do my own takeoff. And on the electrical side, that's what I use as Electrical Bid Manager. It's a very simple program to use. The reporting is very powerful. I've used it on projects, up to $6 million, and I've never had any problems. So I have a very comprehensive database that I built and use, and gives me just the data that I need in order to manage your project profitably. We can provide detailed material lists compiled by the entire project or by task. If you need a detailed BOM for your project, I can provide that to you so that you can buy out your materials and have them delivered to the site. I like to obviously break my materials up by task as well. It gives me the flexibility to have materials delivered in packages of how I plan to build my project, and that's generally very helpful. So if you need a good material breakdown, I can provide you with one. I can provide it by the entire package, or I can provide it by at a task level. Before we begin a project, we'll verify every line item of your budget. I've worked all over this country, and I've managed budgets well into the millions of dollars. The first thing I'm going to do before I accept a project for anyone is to validate the budget. I'm going to go through it line item by line item. I'm going to get as many hard costs established as possible. Whatever's left, I'm going to create my own estimate. And then we're going to compare my numbers to your numbers. My goal is going to be to create some sort of excess that we can set aside for a rainy day going in. But if I'm not able to do that, either through value engineering, purchasing, schedule management, making some good labor choices, then we're going to have a conversation about it going in. But I'm going to be upfront on where I think you're going to end up, and then we'll decide, if we want to go forward or not. I won't run away from a challenging project. I've never done that. But I just like to, be on the same wavelength going into the project, and be honest and upfront about what the expectations are. And generally, I can create that excess, so usually don't have any problem with that. But I'm going to be very honest about it going in. I've already told you that choosing the right subcontractors is important. I am capable of evaluating and vetting subcontractors. I have worked across the country, so I do know a lot of subcontractors. A lot of times I can bring someone to the table who can put together some competitive pricing for you if you need it. I'm very good at managing subcontractors. I know how to hold their feet to the fire and, pressure them to maintain the schedule. A lot of times, if a project's going to start wandering south, it's going to be because of a subcontractor. They can wreak havoc on your budget. They can wreak havoc on your schedule. So it's my opinion that it's one of the most important decisions you're going to make, which subcontractors you use. I can help you with that, and I can manage them effectively, and happy to do that. We have a lot of employee contacts in the industry all over the country, particularly crew leaders like foremen and superintendents. I don't have any field employees working for me. That's not the purpose of my business. I provide supervision. But I have worked with a lot of people all across the country, and a lot of them stay in touch with me. And I can generally put together a pretty good list for a crew if I need to. Particularly at the foreman or superintendent level, those are the guys that I really keep my eye on and stay in touch with. But a lot of regular employees, journeymen and below, do stay in touch with me. So if you have some employee needs, I can probably help you out in that area. I'll be honest, over the last several years, as the economy's gotten better and better, it's been a little more challenging, but generally I can fill key slots with good people who can manage workers real well, and I'm happy to do that for you. I have some really good news. You don't have to invent bespoke software to manage your business, because we've already built it for you. I've been compiling task integrated estimates since the early 90s. And the whole purpose of that was so that I would be able to assign tasks to my workers that correlated perfectly with the estimate requirements. And then I could track their progress and enter their time every day for my crew, so that I knew every day how I was tracking on my project, dollar for dollar, on the labor side in relation to the actual estimate. And so that evolved into some pretty elaborate spreadsheets that I used for a long time, probably 20 years. testing that and using it on competitively bid projects. And about 10 years ago, I finally decided to convert that into software. So now I have a software product that does the exact same thing. You can actually import your estimate data into it. It will create a very accurate master schedule of your project. And then from there, it's very easy to point and click create 2-week schedules, either for every employee if it's a smaller project, or every crew if it's a larger project. Very easy to enter time. You can do it on a smartphone, you can do it on a computer, you can print out paper time cards and have them fill in their hours as they go along and then enter that information in. But about 10 years ago, I converted this whole system into a software product. I've been using it and testing it for 10 years now, and it's very effective. It ties right into any commercial estimating software. You can spit data, spit a file out and import it right in to create a master schedule very quickly. You can do the same thing with the spreadsheet estimating system if that's your thing. If you use spreadsheet estimating, works that way as well. Can tie into your accounting software if you want it to. For time card reporting, you can import employee lists so you know wages and who's on each crew. Tracks employee labor by their actual wage and compares it to the estimate projections basically on a daily level if you enter the time that way, which you should, so that you can sit in your office and you can pull up your projects in the morning. You can take a look at them. It'll tell you the exact health of the project, and if you're having any issues, those are going to pop up for you so that you'll be able to say, you know, hey, there's a problem on this project. We need to get out there today and get that solved so that doesn't grow into something that we can't overcome. And it's, you know, just a really good tool for keeping your budget on track on a daily level. So we'll take a quick look at that, but it's something that's available. It's what I use to manage all of my projects. If I'm going to manage a project for you, I'm going to use it. I've had companies, huge companies, you know, dictate to me on projects that, you know, I've either got to use Primavera or Microsoft Project for managing the project. I say, fine, okay, we'll do that. In the background, I'm using my own software. And generally, by the end of the project, they're sold, and they would rather have me manage my projects for them with my software than either one of those, because it's just a lot simpler and a lot more effective in labor management. It's a good labor management tool. So we'll take a quick look at that now. We'll build a detailed master schedule right from your imported estimate data. Okay, so the way this process is going to start is that we're going to import your estimate data into our software. Because of the formatting of the estimate, it's going to almost build an automatic master schedule in Gantt chart form. We'll have to select the start dates, but other than that, everything will be structured just about perfectly. And this will be the overview, the 5,000 mile high view of the project, so that everyone knows what a successful project is going to look like. It's compiled of individual tasks that need to be completed in the order they need to be completed. So basically what it becomes for your crew is a to-do list that they can check off as they go through. It's designed to be set up and formatted by your project management team. So they're going to put together the structure, and then hand it off to your field supervisors, superintendents, or foremen. And it's very simple for them to take a look at the master schedule. They say, okay, this is my crew. This is the next task I have to work on. They click on it. It'll assign it to them. It gives them the exact estimated hours. But the program is also tracking your average labor rate, whatever you projected for your project. So it's doing math, it's multiplying the task hours times the average labor rate, and when you assign it to a crew, it's going to divide those task hours by your crew average labor rate and make the adjustment. So if your average labor rate for your crew is running higher, they're actually going to get less hours to complete that time. If your average labor rate for your crew is running lower than projected, they're going to get more hours to complete that time, to complete that task. But they'll just simply select the tasks in order for their crew, click on them, it's going to compile them into a 2 or 3 week rolling schedule, and tell them exactly what to work on, how much time their crew, dollar for dollar, has to complete that work in order to be profitable, and then they're going to work against it, and they're going to enter their time in against it. From the rolling schedule, it automatically creates a timesheet that can either be filled out per crew. For instance, the crew leader could enter the time, and the time will flow into everybody's time card. Obviously, that's editable. If someone shows up late or leaves early, that needs to be edited, but it'll automatically flow the time right into everybody's time card, and then they can edit it for any occurrences like that. And it's going to track them dollar for dollar against each task so that you can take a look every day and see how they're performing. It's a good report card for having pod meetings in the mornings with your foreman or superintendent. Take a look at how each crew's performing. If a crew is slipping behind, you're going to know about it the day it happens. You can go talk to them, find out what their issues are, address those issues. Maybe it's just some encouragement. Maybe they came across an obstacle. Get them back on track and get them back up to speed. So the whole thing starts with a master schedule. Part of that master schedule is going to include every item that needs to be in place prior to a task starting. So if they need some rental equipment out there to complete that task, their material, if they need to hire extra workers for the task, that's all going to be listed on there, and that field crew needs to check off each one of those milestones prior to starting that task. So the project manager in the office can open that up in the morning, they can take a look, and if they see that some of those requirements haven't been ticked off, they know they're not ready to start that task. So it just kind of gives them the heads up whether the crew is preparing themselves properly for their next series of tasks to start. So that's the master schedule part of the program. We'll create point-and-click weekly schedules for individual workers or crews of workers right from the master schedule. I've kind of already covered the rolling schedules, but they are very simple to build. For a crew of 10, you could build a 2-week or 3-week rolling schedule in a matter of a few minutes. Very simple. You simply pull up the master schedule and you select your tasks, you click on them, and you assign them to your crew. So very simple stuff. That gives them a record of what they're supposed to work on, when they're supposed to work on it, and how much time they have to complete it. And then as that time gets entered in, it gets fed back to the master schedule. So a component of that Gantt chart is the actual labor that's being expended towards each task. and you'll be able to see if they finish early or finish late. It is possible, depending on your average labor rate, to finish late on a task and still finish on budget, right? Because your labor is costing you less than you projected, so you can actually run a little bit over and still be on budget. So it'll let you know that if they finished late but they still finished on budget, it's going to tell you that. If they finished early but went over budget, it's going to tell you that. You'll be able to look at that master schedule every day. Everything from the rolling schedules and the timesheets gets fed back into there, so that you have a snapshot of what's happening on your project basically on a daily basis, and you'll know the minute that you have any issues on any task or any crew. When you tell workers what to work on, when to work on it, and how much time they have to complete it, you create accountability. When those time constraints are determined by estimate data, you effectively hold employees accountable to the estimate. Time entry is very simple. You can do it off a smartphone right from the field. And or you can log on to a computer. It's a web hosted software, so it's in the cloud. Wherever you've got an internet connection, you can actually access it and enter time. You can print out paper copies of the schedules, and employees can handwrite their time in there, and then you can manually enter it in if you want to do it that way. Timekeeping seems to be a very personal thing with contractors. I know there's a lot of different options out there for that now, and some of you are using those platforms. So I've kind of solved that problem for you. The way that I market this software is that what I'll do is I'll take the program and I'll put it on your own personal server, and I'll license you my code. So from there you can make any changes to it that you want. You can accept my updates as I improve the software, because I upgrade it and improve it constantly. But you can make your own changes as well through my developer. Just tell them what you want. If you want to link the software to your own timekeeping system, for example, he can make that happen for you. All of the data is already collected in there, and it's just a matter of transferring files between the programs. Been pretty successful with that. I haven't worked with every program out there, so I can't tell you definitively what it would take, but that's a discussion that we could have, and we can involve my developer. He's a pretty sharp guy, and he could probably link it right up so that, you know, the program just spits data right to your timekeeping or vice versa, and so that we get things updated and they both balance very well. We also include a unit tracking module. This is very helpful in tracking installations by quantity of material installed, and if used in conjunction with the time entry, it really provides a detailed snapshot on the profitability of your project. Unit tracking is a great tool on repetitive tasks. I use it a lot on solar projects, you know, to count things like racking, post installation, purlin installation, torque tube installation. Can also be used on the electrical side, combiner boxes, inverter set, things like that. I tend to use my hourly tracking more for electrical work and unit tracking more for structural, but it can be used on either. Another good use for it is for tracking subcontractors. Generally, they're not going to share their man hours with you, and you know, the wage of their employees and things like that. So it's very easy to break their work up into repetitive tasks. How many feet of something they need to install, or how many items they need to install per day to stay on schedule. And I've actually used that to track contractors on EPC contracts. I was able to, on a very large solar project, track the EPC contractor, and actually made predictions 5 months in advance about you know, the fact that they were going to be completing late, and I was only 2 weeks off. So it will you know, create percentages of completion where they're at, ahead or behind, and you can use that to extrapolate out and make predictions on completion times and things like that. So it's a real handy tool. I use it a lot. Primarily, I use it for solar work or for tracking subcontractors. By capturing data daily through time entry, you get almost up to the minute reporting on the health of your project. This enables you to make corrections in real time in order to stay on budget. We provide good reporting on the health of your project. It's something that you'll want to take a look at every day. Because you'll know immediately if something begins to turn south on your project, and you'll have plenty of time to get out to that site and figure out what the issue is and find good solutions to overcome it before it takes your entire project into the red. And I think this is where a lot of contractors kind of miss the boat, because, you know, they don't have a method for keeping track of what's happening on their project on a daily basis. And by the time that they find out they have a problem, it's too late for them to do anything to overcome it. It's very important to be able to react quickly and make adjustments as you go along, and keep steering your project towards, you know, a profitable conclusion. Another thing with the reporting is that there's no reason to go out to your site and assess it for monthly billing. All your percentages of completion will be included in there. You'll be able to update those and look at your report and bill right off of that, because it's tracking essentially tracking, you know, what materials installed and what labor is installed percentage wise, and you'll just be able to pull those percentages and plunk them right into your AIA billing if that's what you use. So you know, the program is collecting a lot of data. It's possible that you may want to see that data different than we provided to you. But then again, it's just a simple matter of, you know, kind of determining what you want to see and creating a report to spit that specific information out for you. So it can be very versatile. Employee performance is tracked automatically as time per task is entered, enabling you to identify employee and crew strengths and weaknesses for merit increases and focused training. The program does track the performance of all of your employees, and over time it'll give you reporting on their rate of efficiency. It will actually tell you, okay, this is how much you're paying them. They're earning you the equivalent of this. So you can really see what their dollar value is to your company, you know, good or bad. And a lot of contractors, when I tell them that, they think, okay, great, now I can figure out who's screwing off and I can get rid of them. But, once you start telling people exactly what to work on and how much time they have to do it, and then tracking their actual time, you're going to find out that there's not a lot of screwing off going on. People know that you're keeping an eye on all of that. They're going to act accordingly, and they're going to get things done. They're going to be efficient. But when you see someone maybe slipping behind on their production, normally it's an indication that they need some type of training. And so you'll be able to see the tasks where they're not performing well and the tasks where they are performing well. So it's a real good indication of where training needs to be applied, and it gives you an opportunity to get them that training and make a more valuable employee out of them. Another thing is you're going to have top performers. In every company there are people who just, excel, and you'll be able to see, identify those people, and either, incentivize them with bonuses or maybe a merit increase and things like that. Okay, I want to thank you for taking the time to let me introduce myself and my company to you. If there's any of these items that you'd like some help with, writing schedules, detailed takeoffs, site supervision, a good solid software product to manage your projects with, I can provide those a la carte or as a package deal, whichever way suits you. And I'd appreciate hearing from you. And here's some contact info.